Hello and welcome to Cheshire Audio. Now then, this is a bit of a sort of roundup, a bit of a tidying up of loose ends in some ways, which I'll explain as that. There's a few bits I want to show you in the shop. There's a system upstairs, which I reckon might be the best system I've ever heard in that room. I'll talk about that as well. We'll go up in a second and have a look. Yeah, the reason it's sort of a tying up of loose ends is this is going to be my last video for a while. Don't worry. Basically, I'm going on holiday. And I'm going to be away from 19th of July, which is Saturday, and coming back on the 16th of August, but back in the shop on the 19th because the way that was before the weekend. So that's when I'll be back on the Tuesday the 19th of August. So we're taking 3 weeks because we've obviously got the camper van, and we tend to just set off, do the ferry to France, and then go in a direction. The plan is to go up, as we've done before actually, is to go up through Denmark, possibly up through Sweden, possibly take another ferry across to Norway, and try and do Norway. The last time we did it, we sort of got distracted and didn't get any further than Gothenburg, so we're hoping perhaps to go up through Denmark and take the ferry to Gothenburg and then go up into Norway. So it needs 3 weeks, because last time we did 2 weeks, got to Gothenburg and we had to come back. So anyway, you don't need to know all this. So that's why I close the 3 weeks, and because I work on my own, my only option really is to close. The theory is that August is really quiet, and it normally is. If you look at the figures, August is always really, really quiet. But basically when it's warm, it's very quiet. Typically this year, it started to go quiet, and then this week it's suddenly done a flurry. I think yesterday I had about 25 phone calls yesterday, which normally might get 6. People wandering in, whatever. I had a chap walked in from, I forget his name, I don't know his name was Phil. Walked in, lives in China, from the UK but lives in China. He's come over to see family, made a special trip to come in here, wanted a selfie. It's like being a superstar. That was nice, a nice chat with him. So yeah, but it's been busy, there's been quite a bit going on this week. So obviously now the stress is kicking in, thinking the shop's busy and I'm going away. But anyway, I seem to have resolved a lot of things. There's a lot of things that have happened that have been sorted out. Other people are sort of, I'll see you when you come back then. So that's been quite good. Anyway, let's look at the shop. What was I talking about? That was it, yeah. You may or may not remember that I was lent a pair of Affidian Sirens, which are Ophidian's new stand mount speaker. Which were at Cranage. I didn't get to hear them at Cranage. They weren't in the Ophidian room. They were in, I think there was an amplifier manufacturer, the name of whom I've completely forgotten, who had them running. And I heard a few good things about them. And Gareth, when he dropped off my Fions, said, I've got the Serens in the car, do you want to borrow them? Straight away I said yes, because obviously anything from Ophidian is going to be wonderful. Forgetting quite how much I had on to sort out and things. So they've been kind of sat around a bit. I was feeling a bit bad. So a couple of days ago, I've stuck them on the system in the shop to have them running. Put the Fions upstairs, which we'll talk about in a sec. And I thought we could have a little look around them, because I've been really impressed with these. I know it's predictable. I love it. I mean, guy has hi-fi shop, loves the speakers he sells. Well, I don't actually necessarily take on whole ranges. I pick and choose quite a bit. With some manufacturers, it's quite difficult to do that. Some of them insist on you taking the stuff you don't like, which I tend not to deal with companies that have that sort of ethos, really. I prefer to deal with people who will let me just take what I like, really. Affidian, they haven't done a model I haven't really liked. So, Seren, yeah, really good. Really, really good. Even just down here, I always say this, even just down here, which is a bit of an awkward acoustic, not on sort of massive high-end kit or anything. I'll just show you around. Actually running it on, I don't know, they're stacked together for a reason. I've been playing around with other stuff. So exposure 3510 CD, 2510 amplifier. The phone's ringing. I'll just pause a second. We'll come back to this position. Right, I'm back. Where were we? Yes, exposure. Just been running it on this exposure. The reason they're stacked together is I've just put this little CD50 Atoll in, which I've been sort of evaluating, because I've never really done much with the 50. I always thought I'd just start at the 100, but this has surprised me. We'll talk about that another day. Yeah, so that's the reason I stacked up, so don't judge me. Yeah, the Serens. which are here. You will have seen these in previous videos, and I have talked about them, but I hadn't actually properly put them on and listened to them. Well, I kind of still haven't because they've not been in the top room yet, but I do sort of know how things respond down here. Straight away, I mean, these have been run in, so there's no sort of getting used to and running in sort of period. Straight away, the thing that struck me about these is there's a definite similarity to the Fion. And the reason is, and I hadn't spotted it, is that treble unit is the same treble unit. Different bass unit, different cabinet, well, size for one thing, obviously, but different constructionally, it's very different because this is very regular, and the Fion isn't, and that contributes to the sound and the price of the Fion. We'll talk about that in a sec, because that's what we're heading up to in a minute. But yeah, these are something about these which I really like, and I think it's the way they project vocals, and the top end is really sweet and accurate. And there doesn't seem to be any sort of aggression in it at all. Very, very sweet sounding speakers. Quite a nice big sound, and they seem to work quite well down here. And this space is a bit odd. It looks bigger on camera than it is, but you're facing other speakers, which is never ideal. And the floor is solid here, but suspended over there, so there's a bit of an odd effect you get from the flooring, because the cellars are under that bit, and this bit's solid. Yeah, so you do get sort of weird stuff going on, but these have handled it really well, and they work really well with exposure, actually. I think previously I've heard Ophidians with exposure before, and it does seem to be a nice match. They also work well with Sugdens, actually. Usual thing on the back of these have got the... I can walk around here because I've moved some stuff and I can actually walk behind. These have got this clever porting arrangement that Gareth uses, which kind of slows the airflow down quite a bit, controls things. So you get this very sort of controlled bottom end, which doesn't lag, and it doesn't cause as much issue with boundaries and things like that as well. So it's clever. I mean, Gareth is a good designer, he really is, and it's I think he'll do well with these. They do remind me of C10s, and they remind me a little bit, what was I thinking of? They've got a bit of a feel of, this is going back a bit, but it's Sonus Faber. One of my favourite speakers from Sonus Faber that wasn't crazy money. Electors. They've had a very similar presentation to these, actually. And I loved them, absolutely loved them. Although they needed a bit of driving, whereas I don't think these will so much. I think these will like a bit of current, but don't necessarily need it, really. So one of those sort of speakers you can buy it and sort of upgrade into, and things will get loads better, and it'll be, so basically good for the sort of future of your system. You shouldn't need to change them for years, that's what I'm trying to say. Right, I'm going to go upstairs because there's a system upstairs, as I said, which may be the best I've ever heard in there. So let's go and have a look. Right, yeah, so I'm in the main den room upstairs. The reason I set this up, there was a customer who was wanting to come and listen to the Fions, but he's sort of finding it a bit difficult to find a time to come in. So I said, well, I'll put them on in the top room. Then whenever you find a moment to come up, they'll be on, because I'll just set up a nice system with them, and I'll just keep them running as like a little statement piece. Which I've been intending to do anyway, but it's a bit of a facer when you're on your own because they're heavy, and I tend to use the audio. I'll show you. Rather than talking about this, I'll show you. I tend to put them on the Audite platform. Or speakers like this, I'll put on the Audite platforms because the floor is quite problematic and they need isolating from it. So generally speakers is not particularly difficult because I can use. I'm going to see if I can find where they've gone. Use these little foam pads between, so you use these as little extra isolators between the speaker and the platform, and that works really well. Some speakers you can't do that, and it tends to be ones like the Fions that have got a downward firing bass unit, because if you take off the spikes and just use these, there isn't really enough clearance. So I have to sort of manhandle them onto, because I don't want to damage the Audite. I've got some little cups underneath, and trying to lift a speaker of this size and put it onto the little spike feet without dropping it onto the Audite platform and damaging it is interesting. I managed to do it by putting a board. I've got a board downstairs that I use as a jig adapter, rested the back feet on it and tried to get the 2 front spikes to sit in the cups, then lifted the front, and yeah, it did it in the end, but it basically wore me out and took ages. So they were done. And what I've put on with them, the obvious one, Naya turntable on another Audite platform. What a shame can't get these anymore. The amount of people I've had ringing around trying to find X-Display, whatever of these, I'm keeping mine because they work so well. So Naya with its power supply, this has just got an Affidian 2 on it, it's not got the Ophidian. Just because it was to hand, I put on the Athos. I really like the Athos actually, but I must admit I tend to veer towards Sugden or veer towards Atoll, and I don't know necessarily, not for any particular reason, that sometimes I just forget that exists, and it's such a good amplifier. Also, which is interesting, and I will be doing a review on, we've got the Rothwell Signature 2 phono stage, which on the face of it seems to be very special indeed, actually. Normally I would run with this with an Aria or with the Aura phono stage, but that is, yes, very good, actually. I mean, Rothwell does some amazing stuff anyway, but that's a lovely, lovely phono stage. So basically stuck on this morning, did a few of my normal sort of test tracks, which I've got the, what is it, Jennifer Warnes thing. I think I've told you all this before. Jennifer Warnes, and let's just get the 2 out while I'm thinking about this. Jennifer Warnes, I'll say that again. Now I've dropped half the albums on the floor. I'll try and multitask. There you go. Right. Right, just these 2 for setup generally. Jennifer Warnes. Sometimes I use Fleetwood Mac album and use Landslide as a setup just to get, because that's very good for instrument spacing. Just make sure you've got the speakers in the right place, really. And this one, Famous Blue Raincoat, the track with the double bass and the vocal and the bit of saxophone on it, that's very good for sort of separation of instruments and image placement and natural sounding bass on that as well. The double bass is very difficult to get right, so I use that. It's a bit of a cliche, but I do use that. This one's a bit of a quirky one. The Italian X-Rays, the track Italian X-Rays, which is possibly the most boring track you will ever listen to. It's an instrumental, it's got tinkly sounds, and a keyboard bass that comes in and you think, oh, that's quite a deep bass. And it plays for a little bit, and then it sort of drops an octave. And it's quite interesting with some setups, particularly some speakers. They'll either completely fall over, not literally obviously, but just can't handle it anymore, they just waffle the way through it. Or I had in a case, what was it? Kudos X2s I played this on, and when the keyboard bass dropped, it went quiet. It just couldn't produce bass that deep at all. There was nothing. There wasn't even it wasn't as though it just went quieter. It went quiet. There was no bass. In the perfect scenario, how that will sound is you can actually hear the sort of the sort of impact of the bass note. The sort of it's keyboard bass. You can hear the sort of thunk as it sort of comes in, and it's very shaped and very specific sort of start and stop to it. You rarely hear that on anything. I've only really come across that really working on real high-end stuff. But we had it today. Quite took me by surprise, actually, because when you look at these, they don't look like they're ever going to produce any bass. But obviously they've got the big bass unit down the bottom. They're firing down a sort of quarter wave arrangement and a similar porting array. Well, there's a big port at the back here, but it is a quarter wave exit. It's not like the sort of Aeroflex thing that he usually uses. This is a different system. And it was playing lovely and clear, and everything was, little tinkly sounds up there, and then the keyboard kicks in, and it sounds like a keyboard. It just doesn't sound like a bass sound. And then when it drops, the whole room was shuddering with it, but it was completely controlled. I mean, I don't think I've ever quite experienced that sort of representation of that track. Like I say, massively boring track, but it's just got this sort of, it's quite an interesting recording that it's actually quite useful. It's quite useful for positioning, moving speakers backwards and forwards until you just get the balance right on it. Then I went through a few other bits and bobs that are over there. We had actually played the original Dire Straits album, which I haven't played for years. Particularly else I have. I've had it played to me recently by somebody else. I love it as an album. I think it's their best album, but haven't played it actually in anger in the shop for a good while. And also played, I can't remember what it's called. Thomas Dolby. I did a bit of Thomas Dolby. Not really into the 80s generally, but Colton Spark. Played a bit of Colton Spark. Played a bit of what's it called? Yeah, I can't remember what it's called. And somewhere back here. Oh yeah, the David Crosby. I did a bit of that. Can't find it, and I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, yes. Oh, Annie DeFranco. I did do a semi bit of a track off Annie DeFranco as well, which is quite nice. It's a country. I can't remember it. It's disappeared into the back of the. Where's it gone? I can't find it. Yeah, Riders of the Lost. You know what I mean. Anyway, I played a bit of that. The one with the really graunchy guitar on it and all that sort of thing. I don't often get lost in the music up here because I'm sort of thinking about what's going on downstairs. Oh, I need to be downstairs or whatever. And I kept just getting another track out and another track out, and then realising I played a couple of tracks, and then somebody shouted me from downstairs, said, "Hello, hello." And I realised that somebody walked into the shop, and I was sat up here listening to music. Yes, so this is really, really good, and I think what it does really well is realism. All the instruments on even some of the recordings which aren't necessarily normally crystal clear and that precise. Musicians were stood in particular places, like the Blue Raincoat. The guy playing the double bass wasn't just a double bassy sound sort of somewhere off behind the speakers somewhere. It was probably 2 feet in from the right hand speaker, stood there at this sort of height, and it was. The string tone was there, and this sort of, you could sort of feel that sort of bowing feeling in the instrument. It's just wonderful. It was really, really good. I mean, all the systems I've had in here that have worked really well. I've been to some surprising ones actually. I think it was I had an Iron 300 and a P10 and an Aria phono stage into quite lowly in the scheme of things. Neat Elite SEs. That was one of the best sounds I've had in here, really. Not as precise and big as this, but that was really good. And ages ago, when I'd only just opened up and I was trying out different things, I had it might have been an RP10, actually. Either an RP10 or a P10. No, I think it was probably RP10. RP10 with a Sugden ANV50, which isn't my favourite Sugden, I must say, with Magnaplane 1.7s, which I considered doing at one point. That was amazing. That was really, really amazing up here, but I think it was overpowering the room a little bit. This room isn't really big enough for Magnaplaners, and on that basis I decided not to do them, but and also I don't think the market's that big in the UK, because I think most people have the same scenario where the room isn't big enough. So yeah, that's the story of this system and why it's on and why it's so good, really. But yeah, I will be doing more about that Rothwell, because that's definitely contributing to this, really. I mean, I know their phono stages are generally very natural and very sort of authentic sounding somehow. They don't feel as though they're adding anything into the signal. It's just purely what passes through and amplified and whatever. So yeah, really good. So whether I'll do another video before I go, I'm not sure. But if I don't, then I will see you again 19th of August-ish that week, I should think. I might be so busy when I come back that I won't get a chance to do a video, but we'll see. I'll try. I might even collect a few little pictures together of the holiday if anybody's interested on that one. Let me know by email if you are. Some people probably hate it. There you go. Yeah, that's it. I'm going to stop it at that. I'll hopefully see you soon. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, because it always helps. I am thinking of doing... not Patreon, the other one where you can actually become a member. I'm thinking of doing that. We'll see. It interests me. But we'll talk about that in the future. Oh, and the other thing I will be doing when I get back, partly because I've got two massive tax bills that go out while I'm away, I might be having a sale as well. There might be some stuff moving on some dem stock and rotating and do a bit of that. And some second-hand things that perhaps have been sitting here might be reduced somewhat as well. really. Try and gather some cash in, really. Theoretically, that's why I'm here, but I forget sometimes. Anyway, yeah, see you soon. Bye.